Hello and welcome to the Scottish Vintage Bus Museum here in Lathalmond, Fife. We're here for the museum's annual open weekend, which this year coincides with it celebrating 30 years at this former Royal Navy supply depot. This place really is immense, covering approximately 45 acres. It's got a standard and narrow gauge railway, workshops, exhibition halls, paint shop, and is home to around 190 buses, including some familiar faces. Consequently, it's the ideal location to announce the next round of EFE Road models which happen to have a Scottish flavour of their own. Think of buses in Scotland and the name of Walter Alexander will very likely spring to mind. From small beginnings in the Falkirk area in 1913, the company became W. Alexander & Son in 1924. It was run by a father and son team, both named Walter, and for many years was part of the Scottish Motor Traction Company. The company continued even after nationalisation, although state ownership saw the coach building business become a separate company, Walter Alexander & Co. Coach Builders Limited. Alexander remained the largest supplier of bodywork for what became the Scottish Bus Company, but even built bodies for customers outside Scotland. It built a wide variety of body types and even built the Class 143 and 144 Pacer units for British Rail, as modelled by EFE Rail. However, by far its most popular design was this, the Alexander Y-Type. The prototype Y-Types first appeared in 1961, with the first production versions entering service 2 years later. Small window bus and large window coach and dual purpose versions were constructed over the next 20 years, and both long and short body versions were offered. Some 3,266 examples were built, a figure only eclipsed in provincial circles by the Leyland National and the Bristol K series. It's fair to say that the Alexander Y-Type was one of the most successful single deck buses of its day. The Y-Types were built at Walter Alexander's Falkirk Works, and a small number were built at their facility in Belfast. It was a very versatile design, capable of being built on a wide variety of chassis types. The most notable of these was the Leyland Leopard, but they were also carried on the AC Reliance, the Seddon Pennine 7, the Ford R series, and at least 10 others. It was a very adaptable design thanks to its modular construction, and Alexander could offer various options according to the customer's requirements. These included single piece, 2-leaf, and 4-leaf entrance doors, as well as different seating configurations depending on the purpose. The front face of the Y-Type changed a few times during its 20-year construction, with different grille and headlight arrangements appearing as the design evolved. This saw it become the AY or AYS type in 1971. This change included the introduction of a new front end design, typically with twin grilles and elongated moulding such as this example. As you might expect, the Y-Type saw extensive use in Scotland. In fact, over 2,800 of those constructed were delivered to the Scottish Bus Group and its predecessors. That's over 86%. But the Y-Type wasn't confined to Scotland, and companies across the UK relied on these buses for their fleets. The Y-Type spawned other variants such as Alexander's T-Type and the long-distance M-Type. However, in 1983, the Y-Type was succeeded by another Alexander product, the P and later the PS types. However, thankfully, the Y-Types continued in service well into the 2000s, and many have survived into preservation in the hands of societies, individuals and museums. So, on that positive note, let's take a look at today's new announcement. The 4 new Y-Type models are based on our large window AY-Type coach tooling and, like the model featured in a recent Clydeside 2000 gift set, feature mirrors for the very first time. A new opaque set of roof vents has also been added to these models, which replaces the clear or painted versions on older EFE Y-Types. First up is Strathtay Scottish Fleet number SL12, registration SCS 360M. This 1975 built Leyland Leopard was part of a batch of 43 dual-purpose 49-seaters that originally operated with Western SMT when new. Our model is presented in full Strathtay Scottish orange and blue livery, complete with 2-leaf doors, as working service 15 to St Fillan's in Perthshire. Registration SCS 337M was built as part of the same batch as our previous model, but was completed earlier in July 1974. This example later became part of the Highland Scottish fleet, operating as number L53. Our model depicts it in its circa 1984 condition, again with 2-leaf doors, as working service 25 to Inverness. We head south for our next model to join one of the largest operators of Y-types outside Scotland. Potteries Motor Traction, or PMT, had some 25 examples on its books, taking delivery of the last 6 in 1971. One of these was registration FEH168J, a dual-purpose 49-seater built on an AEC Reliant chassis. Our model shows this bus in its National Bus Company red and white livery as PMT number 168 and working service 23 to Hanley around 1976. One of the most distinctive liveries carried by a Y-type must arguably be that of registration MFR 18P during its years with Stephenson's of Uttoxeter. Built for Lancaster City Council in 1976 as one of a pair, this Leyland Leopard later joined Stephenson's fleet and carried a variation of the in-house yellow livery advertising Stephenson's express services to Blackpool, North Wales, Skegness and the South Coast. Our model is finished in its 1984 condition as fleet number 18 and working service X38 to Burton via Lichfield. Unlike the other Y-type models, this one is fitted with 4-leaf platform doors. The 4 models come in the standard EFE Road display case and have an RRP of £46.95. But that's not all, as also included in this batch are 2 limited edition Y-types for TTC diecast. The models are of Lincolnshire MBC's registration SJA363J in its distinctive green and white livery, and of the preserved Western SMT registration SCS335M, which features elsewhere in this video. More details can be found on TTC's website at ttcdiecast.com. Well, as mentioned earlier, we're here for the Scottish Vintage Bus Museum's 30th anniversary open weekend, and I'm joined by Douglas Robertson, who's the chairman of the museum's management committee. Douglas, this site is absolutely amazing. It's like every bus enthusiast's dream site. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yes, we're dead lucky to have a site as big as this. So we're sort of spread over 45 acres, and it was a Royal Naval Stores depot.
Right.
So it was built to provide storage space for the Fife dockyard during the Second World War. So when it finally came out of use in the early 90s, the opportunity came up to move from the site we were at before into this site, and it's just perfect for having buses. There's an internal road system so we can drive buses around without them ever leaving the museum, but also lots of space for visiting vehicles, for us to have events. There isn't anything else like this that I'm aware of. It's such a special site.
So, 30 years on this site then, Douglas, this weekend, but the museum itself predates that, doesn't it? So.
It does. So the history of the museum goes back to the late 1960s. And one of the very first buses in Scotland to be bought for preservation, 1948, Guy Arab from W. Alexander's and Sons, and operated in Fife. But when it was first bought for preservation, it ended up in storage in a railway yard in East Lothian, and then there was a shed bought that could contain 3 vehicles. And that collection grew from 3 vehicles initially to over a dozen before they eventually had to find bigger premises. So the charity was formed in 1985, so we're actually celebrating 40 years of the charity's creation this year, as well as the 30th anniversary in Lathalmond. So the museum moved to an industrial building in West Lothian near Bathgate, and that was then the site of the museum from 1986 through till 1995 when we moved to the museum here.
I mean, this event itself, absolutely fantastic. We were talking earlier on about how many buses are actually out on display, and can you reiterate that figure for me, please?
Yeah, we've got 140 buses out on display.
Which is incredible.
Just for the people to come and see today. That doesn't then count the stuff that's in the workshop or still in storage sheds. So there's a lot of visiting vehicles included within that number, but a lot of the museum's own buses out as well to show off. And
the buses aren't just confined to the site, are they, at this weekend's show?
No, we've got our shuttle service that we run into Dunfermline. People do come by public transport, so Dunfermline's a good hub. There's a motorway park and ride site quite close to us as well, so we do a service to there. It connects in with a railway station at Dunfermline Queen Margaret as well. So,
And what other events do you do in a year?
but we actually open every Sunday from Easter through to the start of October. So the exhibition hall is open, and we do guided tours of the workshops and the site, as well as sort of being able to have a look around the exhibition hall here. So we're open throughout the main season for people to come in, and then sort of round off the year with a twilight event, where we just run buses down the site and a few external services in the dark, and it's really atmospheric.
So how can people find out more about either getting involved with the museum itself or just visiting generally?
Our website is svbm.org, and we're on Facebook and looking to move into other social media channels in the near future as well. So, and we always welcome volunteers, because as I say, we're open throughout the season, so that's quite intensive. We need people to work in the cafe, to do the guided tours and what have you, as well as help with more specialist things when we're restoring vehicles.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much for talking to us, Douglas.
No.
And I hope the weekend's been successful.
Yes, I think it has. There's lots of happy faces and lots of positive comments, and I'm really glad that you've enjoyed the weekend as well.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for joining us, and I do hope you like our new Y-Type models. Meanwhile, please join us again at 9:30 AM on Wednesday the 5th of November on Bachmann's YouTube channel for the British Railway announcements, in which you'll find out all the latest model railway news and releases from the Bachmann ranges. Hope to see you then. Take care.